Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Blossom here once again, and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards for the Nintendo 64. So, last time we actually been completely done with World 5 in the forms of Shiver Star, despite the fact that I've died so many times on that specific world, because, well, you guys should already know why. And today for this episode, folks, is the fact that we're going to be hit off to World 6, known as Ripple Star. See, Fernando, that hopefully we can able to actually sort this out mess, and all that kinds of shenanigans and all that stuff. And even Fernando will have to able to actually stop Dark Matter's schemes once and for all. See, Fernando, let's go and hop into this world, but it forms of, well, Ripple Star, aka Rippon's home. Because even Anna, that's what she normally lives in. So even Anna, let's get started with the very first level in Ripple Star. And that's the forms of a recreation of the forms of the first level in the forms of Kirby 64 the Crystal Shards. Well, most notably in the forms of Popstar's first level in the entirety of the game. So as you expected, I've changed my display board into a now in a digital vibe to it by the forms of this particular hologram, which even then I found is really cool in terms of design like this by the forms of that display. So I digress though. So now the reason why I say that this level is exactly almost exact recopy of the forms of the very first level in this game in the forms of Popstar 1 is most likely because the entirety of the music plays in the background, and especially noticeable that the entire environment of this particular stage, it feels very identical, except, well, it's all in a different color, and especially noticeable by the forms of a different theme, which I found is kind of cool. But anyways though, the first crystal is very obvious, is how the fact that you can able to obtain that next to that specific guard-based enemies. And the second crystal we can obtain is the forms of how the fact that we need to deal with this particular saw blade mini fight, and there you go, that's how you get to it. Now the third and final crystal is the fact that we need to do yet again a copy ability combination power by the forms of how the fact that we need to get ourselves both needle and bomb for this, because you remember back in during the likes of you know, in Popstar 1, that normally you have to deal with just bomb itself. But in this particular level this time around though, we need to able to actually do a combination power this time around though. Well, it still requires bomb, but we do need to get ourselves our needle. As you can tell, I just managed to keep that for a long period of time. Because yes, if you manage to come across into a black and orangey looking rock, that's how we can able to actually get ourselves a copy ability from that way, or in this case, the third and final crystal from that way. So let's go ahead and just toss that particular needle copy ability right at that bomb enemy right there that we can actually use for using the copy abilities to begin with, and we immediately transform into a Gordo, so to speak, which I found was kind of weird, but hey, awesome at the same time. So anyways, let's go ahead and discard that, and actually, we might not use the bomb, because I'm presuming the next level we're going to be run into, I believe we need to get ourselves the electric enemy right there. But let's go ahead and obtain my 1-up real quickly. So just in case I need some for at the very end of the game, of course, before we jump into level 2, I need to go ahead and go back to this level again and obtain the electric copy ability, and able to exit out, and let's go into level 2. Level 2 is completely different though, because obviously we're actually slowly approaching, but it forms that specific, you know, tower over there. And of course we cannot able to actually go into the actual background, because we have to go onto that specific underground section. Because yes, we have to go onto that specific, you know, underground section. So, and plus, this is the prime example, we do need to get ourselves our electricity copy ability, because you know that yellow block that's being blocked off? Well, that's how you get the first crystal from it. So even then though, that's, well, pretty much, so to speak, speaking of which, by the forms of that specific, crystal obtaining, systems goes, we've only got about 5 more crystals left before we're able to actually fully completely done with everything in the forms of Kirby 64 the Crystal Shards, pretty much, and able to actually just about to be restoring, you know, Ripple Star, and especially noticeable for while finishing the game. So, and you know, this might be actually be the final time we're going to be seeing Dark Matter pretty much, because after Dark Matter he will no longer exist again. Well, until there are some brief references in the forms of several other Kirby games these days. Most notably in new forms of Kirby Mouse attack, but even then, no, we'll get to that until when someone's gonna do that, so... Oh look, it's King Dedede managed to able to help us out just to budge that rock over. Thank you, mister. I really appreciate how the fact that you're gonna be doing with us, with just helping us throughout of our journey. We appreciate it. So anyways though, the second crystal we need to be able to obtain from is to able to actually get into this underwater section, but of course it won't be until when we're able to actually bypass this section completely. So even though everything else will be doubly checked. Oh god, I almost get hit by that specific projectile right there, but that's okay though, because even though we got ourselves a sandwich right there after getting hit, but that's okay though. So a few things I just want to mention about this is that today was actually forms of the 15th of May, in the forms of 2018, so to speak. So even then, we've only got 3 more days left until Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch are about to be released. Only in forms of, you know, in English, or in this case, in international versions of that game now. So even then, hopefully I can able to actually get myself my full experience on that specific version. And second of all is the fact that there are some slight updates in the forms of some of our Let's Plays from now on, but in forms of not only just for the current ones, but also future ones as well. First of all, I'd like to point things out is the fact that, obviously after this game, we're going to be able to move on to Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland on the Game Boy Advance, which originally we're about to be doing that during the likes of the 12th of June. Well, there's a third and final crystal, by the way. We need to be able to actually keep our cutter with us, so just in case... The cutter ability will do the job done, so even then I just want to point things out. So, anyways though, oh yeah, that could be also same applies for, several other copy abilities for that as well, but I'm not exactly entirely sure on that one, so... Anyways though, let's go ahead and just get ourselves Needle and Needle. Actually, there's no point for me to able to actually keep a hold of those two, because, well, afterwards, then we're pretty much gonna be, done with the forms of collecting those crystals, which, speaking of which, we've only got about 3 more left until... Oh, shoot. I didn't get anything from that. Class is lame. Anyways though, so now let's move on to level 3. So in level 3, much like it, as you expected, just like the ones in Kirby Dreamland 2, and especially noticeable in Kirby Dreamland 3, this is going to be a level that usually focuses on enemy endurance run. Not mini-bosses this time around though, because we've pretty much done with every single mini-bosses this time around though. So even then though, that's pretty much it for the most part though. So, anyways though, so, the last 3 crystals are gonna be, well, the first one is gonna be pretty obvious in this level. It's the fact that we need to bypass this room completely. Let's just go ahead and toss the fire projectile, and, oh, I totally forgot, they're usually blocking it, so. Okay then, so let's go ahead and just, keep a needle for the time being, and we'll just have to get ourselves our fire ability, because, for the second crystal we need to obtain though, is the fact that we need to go ahead and just use, this might be the final time we're going to be doing this, but in forms of the combination powers, because, well, specifically when it comes to mandatory crystals that we need to deal with, because we need to get ourselves both needle and fire, so just in case if we could able to potentially get those, then we can able to get ourselves the second crystal from this that way, so... Alright, so let's go ahead and kill that rock type enemy, and... Wow! I messed up for that specific combination powers for this point, guys! Just wonderful. So that means I'm gonna have to able to restart my entirety of my process here, and this means I have to able to restart the entire level all over again. And even especially noticeable how the fact that we need to go through all this little task again. So you know what? I'm just gonna have to pause my game. Although, thankfully though, this level wasn't really as long as any other levels, I don't think. So even then though, and plus it's a good thing. If you manage to get to this first point of this particular level, it's a really great way so you can get extra lives that way, because there are plentiful of stars to collect. So that way you can able to actually grind for more extra 1-ups and stuff. So... anyways, let's go ahead and toss the needle ability at the fire enemy, and there we go. So that way we can get ourselves both fire and needle, which basically it creates a fire bow, which basically is more likely the exact same way as how it does it in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, in the forms of, you know, and same applies for, you know, Majora's Mask for that as well. As you can see right there, that we've managed to able to obtain ourselves this blue star. Differently from the forms of, the red, normally the yellow ones, red ones, and especially the green ones most likely. I'm pretty sure in order to normally you collect 1 star if you manage to able to obtain just the yellow star, and I believe the red star actually gives you like, I would say 5 or 3, but I'm pretty sure the green one's actually worth you, I'm assuming 3 or something like that. Very much like the ones in the different sized stars in the forms of in Kirby Dream Land 3. So that's my little conception to this throughout. So, and the blue ones on the other hand, which normally you get those, but after when you obtain the already collected crystals, basically you get yourselves, I'm assuming 10. Yeah, I think you might get yourselves 10 stars, I'm assuming so. But even then, I haven't really looked upon that much in terms of instruction, electronical manuals and all that stuff. But again, I must apologize if I don't able to actually watch any of these kinds of stuff like that. So, anyways though, so this is the reason why we do need to get ourselves the both fire and needle, because you see that carpet right there means represents both red and orange. This means we do need to get ourselves a combination power between both fire and needle. If that way, if that's been the case, then you would able to actually get yourselves the a chance to able to get yourselves a second crystal. Now the third and final crystal, and especially noticeable the final crystal shards, well, not until when we actually get into the actual main boss in this particular world. We need to able to actually get all the way up to the top, because thankfully though the third and final crystal wasn't that hard to get, because even then though, because you know, this room is entirely based off from you know, just needs, the majority is just basically we need to able to dish out as many enemies as possible, basically. So that's as far as my mainly conception with this particular level's concern as goes. But even then, that's as far as I can say about this here. So anyways, back into what I was saying, but in forms of the specific updates, in the forms of our Let's Plays department, I decided to able to actually go ahead and say no, is the fact that our redo Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 will be delayed until December this year, most likely because we need to able to actually get started, but in forms of, not just a redo Let's Play of Super Mario World, but also the next Zelda game we're going to be talking through in this particular Let's Plays department on our channel. Because, we were originally trying to do Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, but I wasn't really ready for that game just yet, because that game is really damn difficult, so I'm going to tell you that right about now. And, also, I just want to point things out right away, is that speaking of Kirby, the next Kirby game we're about to be decided to tackling through after this game is finished, the next Kirby game is going to be evolving around Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance. That Let's Play is going to be pushing forward a little bit until at the very end of May, most likely because of how the fact that we just want to able to actually that particular game of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland is basically a remake of Kirby's Adventure on the NES, but on the Game Boy Advance portable system. And that's all I can really say about this here, pretty much. And yeah, that's all I can say about it. As you can see, I've got myself the third and the final crystal in this level, and that pretty much does it. But in forms of this particular level, we have to approach all the way to the right, and there we go, level's been fully completed. And let's grab the maximum tomato, because I'm gonna have to be honest here, folks, I probably won't care that much in terms of enemy info cards, unless if I manage to collect them all in my own time. So there we go, let's move on to the next boss in this game, but in forms of Miracle Matter, aka probably the toughest boss in the game in my opinion. Well, where do I start? Because basically, first of all, is the fact that Miracle Matter is basically he's actually obtaining most of those copy abilities that you've already used ever since during the past few levels. But here's the most hardest part about this boss fight though. You know how the fact that, well, this boss fight does remind me of almost very similar to the ones in the final boss in Sonic Colors for the Wii, that normally you can able to actually deal out with, you know, with Dr. Eggman whenever he decides to use this particular different also abilities, and especially noticeable by the forms of Sonic Lost World's final boss, and even especially noticeable the most recently disappointed final boss in any other Sonic games at this rate, but in forms of the Death Egg robots from Sonic Forces. Seriously, that is the most lamest final boss I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Because that's been reused several times already, which even I know that might be sounds a little bit too old for my liking. I'm just really hoping that the next modern Sonic game will actually just decide to able to use the original final boss for this matter, not just rehashing it every single time, because it's been done like 3 times, or even especially noticeable, like, I would say twice by now, because even then, normally in Sonic Colors, it's perfectly fine. But in Sonic Lost World, I found it's pretty okay enough. But in Sonic Forces, on the other hand, well, it's a watered-down version, basically, for me. Because I'm still really hoping that Infinite will be the true final boss in the forms of Sonic Forces. But no, because the game decided to able to rush it out. To able to actually get this game, to get that game, rather, finished and over and done with. But that's just how I think it is. So anyways, though, back to what I was saying about the forms of the updates of certain Let's Plays department. And also not to mention that the after Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland is finished, we decided to able to actually let Kirby and the Amazing Mirror also push forward until 19th of June because, well, after pretty much for the majority of the Kirby games, at least for now anyway, that we're most likely focusing on other redo Let's Plays. Like for example, like I've already established Super Mario World before, but also Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, well, at least until like after when not only the 3DS version's on its way, but also the Switch version of the game as well is going to be releasing on. So that's pretty obvious. That's pretty obvious with this point for this matter. And also that originally that the 3 well, me and Buttercup and Bubbles might decide to able to actually get back into Splatoon, but then after we're able to fully completely done with Splatoon, we decided to go ahead and do Splatoon 2 after finishing the first game. But on the other hand though, Splatoon 2 Let's Play will be, you know, delayed until next year, because even then though, that I've heard, they're going to be announcing there's going to be a Octo expansion pack that you can able to actually buy for the actual eShop DLC. But I wasn't exactly ready for that yet though, so even then I need to get a little bit more practice and all that stuff, but that's just how I think it is. So, and as you can see right there, I've died twice in the forms of Miracle Matter, because this is probably the hardest boss fight in the entire game in my opinion, just because, well, I'll explain more in the actual boss fight as soon as I'm able to actually just give you guys some details about the future plannings, but in forms of our YouTube channel at this point. So yeah, that's what I can say about it. Well, luckily though, the Mega Man Marathon is still going to be happening in the forms of well, you know, just for the sake of August and during that time, because, you know, the announcements of, you know, Mega Man 11 is about to be on its horizon. I'm really hoping that Mega Man 11 will be on its way onto the forms of the E3 this year, which even then, if it does, then I would be really excited about that, because, you know, it's been about 8 years since the last Mega Man's, you know, actual main console releases, ever since Mega Man 10. Well, I would technically count Mega Man Cross Street Fighter, but it's more likely just made by a fan game of any sort, so even then I probably won't count that, I'm afraid. And also, oh yeah, speaking of Kirby Nightmare Dreamlands, is that recently I finally managed to get myself my proper, better version of my Kirby Nightmare Dreamland Game Boy Advance cartridge-only versions, because even then, that it plays rather well, and especially notably, thankfully saves, because seriously, that mode definitely just gets on my nerves, and especially just brainwashed me, for the majority of it, for the most part though. And also speaking of which, is that you originally that definitely was supposed to be able to actually save up for Sonic Unleashed DLC when it gets to at some point in July, most notably in the 23rd of July originally. But I think he was trying to say is the fact that he decided to push forward a bit until he able to actually go ahead and tackle through the DLC stages in Sonic Unleashed. And then before beyond that, that's only because of how the fact that, well, it's not that long until, well, E3 2018 is about to be a horizon. So he decided able to actually go ahead and tackle the DLC stages of Sonic Unleashed while the E3 2018 is happening. So if that's the case, because even then though, he can talk a lot through it whenever he decides to go ahead and deal with DLC stages in Sonic Unleashed for the 360/PlayStation 3. So I thought it might be a really better choice for my book. So anyways, as for Miracle Matter, he is by far the most toughest boss in the game in my opinion, just because, well, first of all, he does have all kinds of abilities, but in forms of, you know, fire, ice, electric, and cutter, needle, and rock, and even especially noticeable with, I would say, bomb of any kind, which even then though, that it might be, sounds a little bit fishy here. But anyways though, so he's almost done now, because even then, sometimes this boss might take a little bit longer compared to any other bosses in this game, but that's just how I think it is. So anyways, let's go ahead and dodge this electricity right there. I think the electricity section is by far the difficult part about this fight to me though, because you know, the likes of the Ray of Fright, but in forms of Mario Party 6 minigame, it reminds me a lot of that specific dodging the most impossible angles with the forms of lasers in general. And same applies for these bubbles stuff as well, because these are really pain to dodge though, because if you do not dodge in the nick of time, then you would die a lot. So there we go, that concludes Miracle Matter, and here's the true final crystal in the game. So yeah, this is what happens if you manage to collect yourselves, since we've got all the crystals in the game, we got ourselves the best ending. So yeah, we ended up in the true final level in the game, and first of all, let's go ahead and kill myself, because there is no way I can able to actually deal with this level with just 1 unit of health. Well, technically, that wasn't being that enough, but anyways. Welcome to the true final level in your forms of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, assuming if you collect all of the crystals in the game. Welcome to Dark Star, because it's basically pretty much like Hyper Zone from Kirby Stream Land 3, except the fact that we actually have ourselves a proper platforming section this time around. Well, except that it doesn't contain as many platforming segments as I'm hoping will be. But first off, let's go ahead and get my extra life back after that little despicable death I've ever encountered. But anyways, let's go ahead and approach all the way there, hop onto this blue platform, and King DDD hammers that green switch, and we can able to fling up to this higher above. And Ribbon's gonna help me to join with her, but in forms of the true final boss in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. This is the forms of 02, a second form of the forms of, you know, Zero from, well, Kirby Stream Land 3, except the only difference between both 0 and 02 is that 02 actually has wings, instead of like, well, it still has the exact same design, but in forms of her eyeball, or his eyeball I should say, and usually much like how it does it in Zero from Dreamland 3, he still managed to shoot bloodstains, which even then I thought was like, oh damn, that's gruesome. I mean, what's that game rated again? I mean, usually it's PEGI 3, right? But damn, we're getting hardcore, especially at the beginning of 2000s. Well, because you know, the mid-90s was actually pretty much over for the forms of the Kirby's career. But still, it's pretty bit more to doubtful anyway, so. Anyways, as you can see right there, that the forms of our copy, copy ability combination, well, technically it's not a copy ability, but it's more accurately a true weapon of the forms of this particular game. Okay, so in this weapon is called, the Crystal Shard Gun, which basically it just shoots out as many crystal shards right at Zero to himself. But basically, that's how you do in this particular boss fight. It's self-explanatory though. At least it's way more easier than the likes of Miracle Matter, that's for sure. But basically, what we have to do is basically we need to keep on shooting his eye for this first part. And especially noticeable after when you shoot his eye continuously. What happens is though, is the fact that you can, it's your chance to able to actually shoot his ring. Because depends on what, if you manage to continuously shooting his ring, sometimes it changes color, which even then though, it starts from yellow to, I would pursuing red. And after when you shoot the ring, it's your chance to able to actually just to attack its weak spots. But in forms of it though, it's more accurately this little sharpy pointy green stuff, which even then, that sounds a little bit juvenile, I might as well say so. But you do need to be fast though, because if you do not shoot that green thing at the right time, even in the fastest method I should say, sometimes it'll actually go all the way back in and then able to actually just start to go, you know, still survived again. So even though that's how it usually goes with this boss fight goes. Oh crap, I've got 1 unit of health left. Let's just hoping if I don't die this time, unlike the ones in Miracle Matter for about twice in a row. But anyways though, so yeah, with that being said though, this boss fight might actually be the best final boss music out of all the Kirby games at this rate, but in forms of Zero Two's battle theme, because if you ever played Super Smash Bros. Brawl before, chances are you might actually hear this particular boss battle theme remixed a little bit in the forms of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which I found was really awesome indeed. But I digress though, so he's almost down, so he's only got, just a tiny little bit of health left. Come on, I'll finish him off. So close to finish him off. So anyways though, yeah, that's all I can say about Zero Two. This might actually be the final time we're going to be able to be seeing Dark Matter as far as the Kirby series goes. Well, at least expecting for references in the future games. But I digress though, because you think that if you've seen the actual good ending of the game, if you manage to obtain every single crystal shards in the game, you know, Dark Matter wasn't exactly completely done yet though. So anyways, let's go ahead and just shoot those crystals in this last few health points for Zero Two, and booyah! There we go. So let's enjoy the good ending, the proper good ending to Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. That is the most sweetest ending I've ever seen in a Kirby game like this, because first of all, Ribbon managed to able to finally kiss Kirby for once, and that's about it, obviously. So yeah, that was about it, but in forms of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Unfortunately though, this Let's Play, or fortunately, this Let's Play wasn't exactly over yet, because, well, much like how it does in the previous Kirby games, I'm actually going to be showing off some extra stuff of how this game offers. So, as you can see on the staff credit sequence right there, everything else is entirely in colored. Whilst compared to the likes of, well, much like how it does in the forms of Kirby Dream Land 2 and especially Kirby Dream Land 3, this game introduces two different endings, much like how it does in Dreamland 2 and Dreamland 3. That's because of how the fact that, well, you can definitely tell why until then. Until when we showed off the extra stuff of how this game offers to be. So even then though, with that being said though, everything else about the entirety of the premise of Ripple Field, or no, not Ripple Field, Ripple Star is now fully being peace. And we congratulated to get ourselves our own variation of Crystal Shards, which I found was very cute and very handy and what have you. And that was about it, basically. But in forms of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, we'll never see Dark Matter ever again. So if that's the case, then yeah, that's what I can say about it. So I'm afraid I got to endings here for this point here. So join me next time on Let's Play Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Is the fact that we're going to be showcase the extra stuff of how this game offers to be, like specifically mini-games, some brief information on enemy info, especially tons of options here and there, and even after when you beat the game, you actually unlock yourselves boss battles, and especially the bad endings. So yeah, see you guys next time. Later, fellas.